They told me not to walk through the market at night, but I didn't listen. I will never forget what I saw that night, and if you've ever been to Lagos Island after dark, maybe you've heard about her too. The lady in white. The story sounds like something people make up to scare kids, but I swear to you, it's real. I saw her with my own eyes. It was a few years ago. I was working as a security guard at the Lagos Island market. My shift started at 10 p.m. and ended at sunrise. The market was lively during the day, but after midnight, it was a completely different place. Quiet, dark, and unsettling. Most of the traders went home early, leaving the streets deserted except for a few stray dogs and the occasional passerby. That night was colder than usual. It wasn't just the kind of cold you feel in the air, it was the kind that creeps under your skin and makes you feel uneasy. Around 2:30 a.m., I was making my rounds when I saw her. She was standing by the old bakery at the far end of the market. The place had been abandoned for years. Nobody ever went near it, even during the day. At first, I thought she was just a late-night shopper or maybe someone who had gotten lost. But something about her didn't feel right. She was tall, wearing a long white dress that almost seemed to glow under the dim streetlights. Her hair was long and black, falling straight down her back. She wasn't moving, just standing there like she was waiting for something. Or someone. I called out to her, "Madam, you dey okay?" She didn't answer. She didn't even move. I took a few steps closer, and that's when I noticed her face. It was pale. Too pale, like she hadn't seen sunlight in years. Her eyes were dark, empty, like two holes staring right through me. My heart started racing, but I couldn't move. It was like my feet were glued to the ground. Then she pointed at me. Not like someone asking for help, but like she was singling me out. Her hand moved slowly, deliberately, and I felt a chill run down my spine. The air around me grew heavier, like it was pressing down on my chest. I wanted to run, but my legs wouldn't cooperate. She started moving then, turning away and walking toward the alley behind the bakery. But the way she moved wasn't normal. Her feet weren't touching the ground. She was floating, gliding silently over the dirt. My stomach dropped, and I felt like I was going to be sick. I'd heard stories about ghosts and spirits, but I never believed in them. Not until that moment. I don't know why, but I started following her. It was like I wasn't in control of my own body anymore. I just kept moving, even though every part of me was screaming to stop. She disappeared into the shadows of the alley, and for a moment, everything went completely silent. No wind, no distant sounds of traffic, just silence. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Not hers. These were heavier, louder, like someone running. They were coming from the alley, heading straight toward me. I froze, my heart pounding so hard it felt like it was going to burst. The footsteps stopped just as suddenly as they started, and I felt something cold brush against my arm. I turned and ran. I didn't care where I was going, I just needed to get away. When I reached the security office, I slammed the door shut and locked it behind me. But the room wasn't how I'd left it. The chair I'd been sitting in earlier was flipped over, and papers were scattered across the floor. There was a strange smell in the air, like burnt palm oil mixed with something metallic. Then I saw the footprints. They were small, like a child's, and wet. They led from the doorway to the desk where I usually sat. My hands were shaking as I backed away. I didn't even have time to process what I was seeing when I heard a voice. It was soft, barely above a whisper, but it was clear as day. "Leave this place." I didn't look back. I grabbed my bag and ran out of there as fast as I could. I quit that job the very next day. When I told my boss I couldn't work there anymore, he just nodded like he understood. "You're not the first," he said. That's all he told me, and I didn't ask any more questions. For weeks after that, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd see her face, those hollow eyes staring back at me. And sometimes, late at night, I'd hear her voice again, whispering in the wind. Leave this place. I've never gone back to Lagos Island at night. Even during the day, I avoid the market. People still talk about the lady in white, though. Some say she's the spirit of a trader who died in the market years ago. Others think she's something older, something that's always been there. I don't know what she is, and I don't want to know. But if you ever find yourself on Lagos Island after dark, and you see a woman in white, don't stop. Don't speak. Just turn around and leave. To avoid stories that touches the heart.